Good morning, afternoon, evening, or day, whatever time of day it is. It's hippie cook time. Yes, the hippie is cooking. You guys have been asking for my spaghetti. There is nothing special. There is very little homemade, but there are tips and tricks that I can take along the way to help you make your spaghetti better or to just enjoy the day watching the hippie cook. Friends, like a good cook, I learned this from Gordon Ramsay. Always do your mise en place. What is mise en place? Everything in its place. Preparation. Do your preparation. I have already gotten my 2 frying pans that I need for my morning piece of doing this. I've gotten out some pots. I've got my tomatoes. I want to make sure you can see this. I've got my tomatoes, onions, garlic, the beef, cutting board, hippie, hairpiece, because of course, my friends, one thing you want to be sure of is not getting hair in your food. Always happens here because we have a puppy, but that's a whole other story. It's hard to film in here because of the ND filter goes on and off because I'm forever changing angle, but this camera works pretty good for it. So pitter patter, let's get at her. I always try to do things in an order that is efficient. I used to be an efficiency expert. So the very first thing I do, because the first basic thing I do is make the basic sauce. Fry up the meat, add onions and garlic, and tomato sauce and tomatoes. That's basically it. Okay, bye. That is basically it, but I always want to do it in a specific order. For me, frying the onions takes about 25-30 minutes to make them the right flavor, the right consistency before putting it in the sauce. The meat only takes 10 or 15 minutes, and garlic, you don't want to fry real heavy like 30 minutes like the onions because that's just going to take all the flavor away from it. Put it into the oil. No, you want pieces of garlic. So, first things first, let's get cutting up the onions and let's fry them. I'll be back. While we wait on those onions, it's important to prepare your garlic. Some people just take their garlic, break the cloves off, and start cutting. And if you are one of those, hey, so was I, until I learned. Figure out how many cloves of garlic you want. I want lots of garlic. I'm going to have 5 cloves of garlic in here. And we're going to break them. I'll show you. Simply push down, hear that crunch. Push down, hear that crunch. Do that with all of them. These are big ones, so they take a little more strength, but you can bang it. It doesn't matter. You can break it. You're wanting to break the garlic. We're going to leave that garlic sit exactly like that until just before the onions are ready. And then we're going to break them apart, cut them up, throw them in with the onions and give a bit of a stir, adding some onion flavor to the garlic, adding some garlic flavor to the onion, but not burning the garlic. And why are we breaking it? What happens is right now, Allison is growing inside this and is released because of it. And the garlic is what's called blooming. And for 15-20 minutes, the smell is just going to get stronger and stronger in the flavor. Therefore, stronger and stronger. See you right back for cutting up the garlic and finishing off the onions and starting the meat. Here we are 20 minutes into cooking the onions, and we'll give you a quick look. They're looking absolutely beautiful. What I do is I get them nice hot heat when you first put them in there, and then turn it down to about 5 or 6, medium to medium high, and watch it. Stir them every 5 minutes or so. They're going to brown up real nice. While they only have 10 minutes left, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to start, the ground beef, and we're going to cut the garlic. So, stay tuned again. See, we now have added the garlic to the onions. Going to give it 5 or 10 more minutes as the beef is cooking. I do not drain the beef. Yes, you're going to save a few calories, but you're taking away flavor. That's the fats. The fats are flavor. And so I don't drain the beef. You do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do, and somehow we'll both have great spaghetti. Be right back. Now, we grow that sauce. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning and we're starting to put it together. This is going to cook until about 5:30. That builds flavor. Yes, you can certainly do this at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. You're not going to have as much flavor, but it's going to taste good. And yes, I cheat. Here we go. First things first, I'm adding Classico. Now, I'll be serious with you. I usually buy one that has some peppers and some sausage, but I don't care who made it. because I'm cooking it for so long, I'm using it to be the base. So add that to your meat. And I will admit that I did drain that meat just slightly, because this turned out to be less lean and it was very fatty and had way too much fat in it. So add that, stir. And that's the beginning. Just the beginning. As you see, it's starting to look like spaghetti sauce. But now, oh, look at the beauty of that. Add your onions and garlic. Stir that in. And I still leave the heat really nice and high here. I want to start cooking these flavors together. But here's where it turns into more of a proper spaghetti sauce. Is I take some canned stewed tomatoes. Let's see if we can... Yeah, it's getting a little bright here. Canned stewed tomatoes. All you need is a good sharp knife. And tomato by tomato, I take these tomatoes out and I cut them into pieces. And it doesn't matter, just cut them into 4 or 5 pieces each. And slowly go through them all. If one of the tomatoes is all broken up, throw it in there whole. It doesn't matter. This is what's going to... Most people would say, oh, you're using canned tomatoes? If you want to cook out the canned, tinny taste of tomatoes, you cook for a long time. I would not be adding these tomatoes if I were cooking a fast sauce. But I'm cooking to add stuff to this sauce, both for flavor and texture, as well as when I make spaghetti sauce, it's for 2 days. It's for spaghetti for 2 days. There's only 3 of us, a pound of meat, and the sausages that are in that sauce will go a long way. So let me continue adding this. I'll be back. I have added all the tomatoes, and as you're cutting it, it adds to the sauce. You can see it's not as thick as maybe you'd like a spaghetti sauce to be. Time will change that. I add a little bit, depending how long you're going to cook it, I add some of this tomato sauce, and I'm going to hang on to the rest of it, because you never know when you want more tomato flavor or less tomato flavor. But now, what do we have? All we have is pre-made spaghetti sauce with a bunch of tomatoes, onions, and garlic. And if we were to taste that, very tomato rich, a little bit tinny, a little bit like it came from a can, as I expected. Don't taste the garlic and the onion yet. That's going to cook into that sauce. But there's certain spices I add early in the cook, and that is some chili powder. Not too much. The nice thing about chili powder, don't add it heavy. You can always add more, but chili will bloom in the heat. And even if it's a small amount, you won't taste the chili, but you will taste the mouth taste that it gives. It gives an extra bit of drool, shall I say. So I add some of that, and I always add a fair amount of celery salt. My mom used to just add celery, but celery breaks down and you end up with a whole bunch of fibrous pieces in there, especially when you're cooking it for a very long time. Stir that in. Chili and celery salt. I will add salt later and pepper later and maybe other seasonings. I never know what this is going to taste like. Let me back that bus up a bit. I very often will wait now. I will turn down the heat to about 2 or 3 and just let this simmer throughout the day. A couple of times through the day I stir it. and I taste it. And I may, during that, find it's missing something. If by 4 o'clock I haven't found it missing anything, I still will add salt and pepper to taste around 4 o'clock and turn it up a bit then. I kept the tomato sauce in case this reduces too much and gets too thick. I can always add something. So now that we have all that mixed up, all that ready, I am putting a lid that can breathe, and I'm turning the temperature way down to low. I just want this to really simmer, and I'll stir it every half hour for the next hour or two just to get the flavor moving through there. Let the garlic soak in, taste it, but don't add anything to it right now. This is a labor of love. It's going to take all day, but now I have helpers here. I can go on my walk to the river, have a little medicine, and come back here, but while I'm gone I can say, hey, Gordy or Pasha, stir the sauce. I'll be back later this afternoon. Just a brief interruption. It's almost noon. I've been letting this simmer for a couple of hours, and I've added a little bit more chili and celery salt, a little bit of salt and pepper, and a little bit of onion salt. And I've got the flavor profile that I think I want. I'll show it to you in a minute. And you need to remember this. Chili will bloom and get stronger and more powerful as it's heated. This is almost perfect. Still a slight strong tomato sauce taste. That will go away. And I promised that I would show it. It's looking beautiful. Over the next few hours, the garlic will slowly release the rest of its allicin into the sauce. The sauce is going to get a lot more strong in the garlic flavor. And if it isn't strong enough, I will add garlic salt. If by 4 o'clock it's not spicy enough, I'll add a bit of cayenne to add a bit of smokiness, and I'll add more chilies. And you know, this is the point that you can add around now. You could add some green or red or yellow peppers, bell peppers. You can add some meatballs. You could do what you want, but I'm just going to let this simmer, and we'll see you tonight. Peace. It's now 4 p.m. It's been cooking for 6 hours. It's been on very low for the last little while, and a little bit of a taste test, my friends. And I didn't have to do that. I did it because I wanted to. Friends, this is maybe my best tasting spaghetti sauce in a long, long time. It brings out the spit in the back of the jaw. Do you know what I mean? I said I'm a hippie. I didn't say I'm a cook. Anyways, we are near time for the completion of the spaghetti, but what I want to say was for the past 6 or 7 hours, yeah, there's a better view. For the past 6 or 7 hours, I have been steadily stirring, adding slight bits of different sauces. I have added chili, I have added onion salt, let's see, a little bit of mustard sauce, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and a few other things. What I tend to do is little bits, added little bit by little bit, and the taste grows. And by this time, I have now decided I'm not adding any more to this. This sauce is ready, but I'm going to let it simmer for a couple more hours. And then I'm going to make the spaghetti noodles in a nice salty bath, and then we're going to taste it. So not much left, folks. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you soon. It's almost eating time. I'm now heating up the water, the pasta water. I put about 6 liters of hot water in there. I put a couple of handfuls of salt because I want the water really salty. And on standby, I have almost 500 grams of spaghetti. I will use 3/4 of that box for 3 of us, and I will heat up the water and then we'll be back. Here we are, the water's boiling, we're getting ready. I'm making this quick because we're a little long in the tooth here. I usually grab 2 handfuls of spaghetti and I break it. Pour it in, go quick, another handful. That usually works out to about 2/3 of that pack for 3 of us. And quickly stir it up. And I forgot something. I always, 1 second, going on the fly here, a little bit of olive oil. And stir that. That'll make sure that the noodles don't stick, and it adds just that tiny bit of flavor. We're going to let it boil at a medium-high heat for 10 to 12 minutes, and then we're going to stir it and taste it and see if it's good. But we'll be back as I drain it because we all know how to make spaghetti. And here I am, finally ready. There's the meal. And here's the hippie going to taste it. Cheers. I myself think it's really, really good. What do you think, Pasha? We got a thumbs up. He can't speak. That's... Oh, he said it's good. And Gord Jr. Good. Full mouth, couldn't speak. Both my kids couldn't speak. I did well. This is your hippie, hungry as hell, signing out, saying thanks for joining Hippie Cooks.